So, hello, welcome back. In today's video, we're gonna be building a clone. Actually, we're gonna build a KLON CENTAUR. But it's gonna be a clone because it's a kit. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, it's not one of those clones that you've seen on eBay a lot. The ones from China that comes in a nice little golden box and that you can pick up for around maybe 40 bucks or something. This is actually a totally different kit from Poland. And maybe you guys have seen it around. It's a kit called, called the KLON CENTAUR, and the company is guitar-electronics.eu. They are based in Poland. I don't know really anything about them, but I assume they are a smaller company than some of the other bigger pedal kits manufacturers out there. What you do is you order the kits you want. They come in this neat little box that we're gonna open together really soon, and then you have to print out the papers on their website, which is the same place that you buy them from. And I'm gonna put a link down there somewhere where you can go and check them out if you're in the European Union, because I don't think it will really be worth it if you're not a part of the European Union. The kit was about 20 bucks, give or take. Which means that it's around half of what those kits that you find on eBay cost. I think you guys know sort of what kind of kit I mean. I'm gonna put a picture up now that shows you what I mean, but that's not what we're gonna build. We're gonna build this because I've seen too many videos of people building those kits, so I don't think I have to build one of those. I don't have an original KLON CENTAUR, which makes me sad because then I could sell it for a lot of money. No, but so I'm not going to be able to compare this to anything. Basically, what we're going to do is just see if this is a neat kit to build, and then we're going to see if it sounds nice. And if you have an original KLON CENTAUR, you can make this kit yourself, and then you can make a video comparing them and let me know if I should keep it or not. In this video, we're just gonna put the kit together and look at that part of it. We're gonna sound test it because we gotta do that. I think that the reason why the KLON CENTAUR is so popular is because of the way the case look. I don't think actually I think everyone is just listening with their eyes basically. So we're gonna make an interesting box for it, but you'll have to wait until the next video for that. Right now, we're gonna put the kit together, and we're gonna start off by opening the box and taking a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's the box. This is one of the reasons why I think this is a smaller company, because you don't really get any of those fancy things. You just get a box like this. Obviously it comes wrapped in the mail to protect it, but you don't get any fancy lettering or anything, which I obviously don't mind that because I'm all about what's inside here. But they are more of a you have to put things together yourself than some other kits are more easy because they're like they tell you every step. Here you have to figure stuff out a little bit more. So anyway, let's open the box and see what's inside. So it opens just like that, and first we have a card that I hope you can see. And what this basically is it's tells you the web page, and also there are color codes. So if you don't have a multimeter, which I have, and that's what I'm going to use because I think it's a lot easier, you can see the resistance rings, which I hope you can see, and you can just use this chart to figure out the values of your resistors basically. But we're not going to use this right now because I have a multimeter And if you don't have a multimeter, I think you should buy one, because if you're gonna build guitars or make pedals or make amps, which are all fun things that I'm gonna do, and I hope you're gonna do too, then that's a very good investment. They don't cost a lot of money, and I've had mine for years, basically, is what I'm trying to say, and you're gonna regret not buying one. So it's a very good investment. The first thing here is a bag, and it has a bunch of parts in it. We'll open this up and take a closer look. Secondly, we have the switch. Feels like it's a regular nice switch. It has a good pop to it. I think it's gonna be adequate. Then we have wires, and this is what I mean with this kit not being as easy as some other kits are, because basically this is just you have to like cut the wires and you have to pull them off, and it's not like it's hard, but you have to do it yourself. Some other kits, everything comes basically ready to go and you have to just solder things in place. Here you have to put a little bit more work into things, which is fine. It's not so much more work that it's impossible. You get one of these little rings. That is just, you clamp your wire in here and you can ground it. But we're gonna have to look and see in the description what we're supposed to ground this to. So, but the way it looks, I assume it's one of the output jacks or input jacks. Then we get a little bag with some knobs. We're not going to use these knobs, but we'll take a look anyway and see if they have some sort of, if there's something wrong with them or anything. And I can't really say that I see anything really wrong with them. Their plastic mold has a bit of scuff still on them, which I don't think you're going to be able to see. You can see it right there. There's a little nib that hasn't been cut down, but you can just take a razor blade like this and you can just cut it off yourself, so it's definitely not a big deal. You see? And that's just, from the molding of the knob. You just don't want the knob to catch anything once it's on the pedal. But anyway, we're not going to use these knobs because I have special knobs for the special enclosure that we're going to make later. So, but these are definitely usable, or at least I think. Anyway, then we have a power jack, basically where you plug in the pedal to get some electricity into it. This is a very standard plug. They come with basically all kits, and you can buy them at the electrical store. There is nothing special with these. This one looks like it's supposed to be functioning. We'll see later on if it does. I would be surprised if there was anything wrong with it, because it just looked the way it's supposed to look. Then we have a 10K pot. Feels a little bit hard to turn, but I don't know, not super difficult. I think if I turn this around a couple of times like this, it's gonna loosen up a little bit. But yeah, that seems to be regular, nice quality. Doesn't seem like it's overly good quality, but doesn't seem like it's bad quality either. Probably gonna function just fine. Then we have another pot here with a 10K. One of them is a linear and the other one is audio taper. So they're basically just, you can, and they also, which I see now, are One have these legs and one have these legs. So it's going to be interesting to see why that is, if that matters. I don't think it will. And then we have the last pot, which is a double-legged pot. And if you guys know anything about the klone, which I think you do, because otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video, you know that that's one of the things that makes the klone special, that it has a... Oh, this was really hard to turn, actually. So we'll see if it loosens up a little bit. But yeah, you know, the klone is basically known for having one of these in its circuit, and that makes it a little bit different from all the other ones. And this is 100k, so I don't know if those are the values in the originals. If you know anything about the klone, you know, in more details, like what values the pots are, please let me know in the comments below, because I'm actually really interested in that. But I don't know, since I don't have one, I don't know. Anyway, and then we have two of these, which are, you know, standard, nicer quality output jacks or input jacks, depending on which one goes where. And it seems to be, you know, these are definitely nicer quality than the ones I've gotten in other kits that I've bought. And since this is a kit for only, like, I think it's 25 euros, and yeah, so, you know, something along those lines. It's not that expensive, so yeah, it's nice that we're getting these that are really... they're not the absolute best ones, but they are at least a little bit better qualities than the one you usually get when you buy kits. So that's nice. All in all, I think this is a really nice kit. Let's open up the bag and see what we get in the electronics, and see if there's anything really special in there. We're not gonna go through all the parts in super detail, because that seems a little bit over excessive. So we can start off with these. I hope you can see that these are probably like the op amps. It's really nice that you get this little... oh, what's the English word? Or the Spanish word. If you know that, let me know. You get these little houses for them, so you can solder these in place instead of the actual op amps, and you can then switch them out if you want to find something even nicer, which maybe we'll make a video doing that. That could be cool. I don't know. And you also don't have to worry about, you know, overheating them or something like that. So that's nice. You get these. Makes the whole thing a little bit more... that makes it better, basically. Okay. Then you get a bunch of different parts. And we're going to go through this more when we actually put it together, so don't worry. They seem to be just, you know, overlooking them, like they are very standard. There's nothing really special about these. This is, you know, what you get when you go to the electronics store and you buy a bulk. You know, it's not... I don't know. I can't really say that there is anything about these that are, like, special. They are probably... They're not going to be bad. They're not going to be, you know, like... They're going to function well. They're just going to, you know... We're going to put this together and this kit is going to work, is what I'm trying to say. It's not going to be, like, broken. These are all standard. They're probably going to be good. Or at least adequate. So, yeah. That's just a very quick overglance, I know, but I just feel like going into, like, trying to figure out what parts are the best quality parts that you can get and all that is maybe, you know, a video for another time. Otherwise, this video is going to be like 16 hours long, and sure, it's fun and interesting, but I don't think anyone will want to watch a 16-hour video of me ranting about what type of capacitor or what brand is the best, when, you know, to be perfectly honest, I mean, you can argue with me if you wanna, but I really don't think it matters, you know. Yeah, sure, buy quality if you can, but You know, don't let it be such a big thing that you can't even start making stuff, because then, you know, you've lost everything in the process of doing it the right way or something. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, here's the board. We're gonna take an even closer look at this, because this is the most important part. This is where everything gets stuck. But it looks nice. I don't see any breakage or anything looking, you know, off. Obviously, this is just a first glance. There could be like a problem with how the holes are made or something that I can't see before I try the pedal out. But I mean, if something is wrong, we'll get to that once we sound test it. But yeah, it looks nice. There is no real, I can't see anything that is really wrong with it. Everything looks the way it's supposed to do, which is awesome. And yeah, so now we're gonna start putting the pieces in. Yes, and obviously we're gonna need our instructions that we've printed out, and we're just gonna go through and we're just gonna put all the pieces in. So let's start off by sorting all the resistors by color. So you make sure that this one, here we have two that are the same, because they have first a brown ring, then two black, then one red, and then one brown again. And by doing that, we know that if they look the same, they have the same value. Then we can take our multimeter and we can just check what value they have and try to just go down until we find what value they have. And this one has a value of 9.9, so they're probably just 10Ks. And then we can go back into our manual and see that there are supposed to be two 10K resistors, and we have them right here. So we can just put them into the circuit. So the way this is going to work is that it says that R2, it's a 10K, and these little boxes, I hope you can see them, they look like little squares, and if you look really closely you can see that they actually sort of look like a resistor will fit there. If you compare them to like maybe these big ones or this round one, you see that they don't really seem to have the same shape. And that, the reason is because that's where the resistors are going. So it's really easy when you think about it, like, oh, this one is probably for an op-amp because it has the shape of an op-amp. Or, oh, that's a capacitor, or that's a resistor. You know, just look at how the parts look, and, you know, it's like Legos, but yeah. But this one is going into R2. R2D2, no, R2. So we just have to find R2. There is R12 and R9. You probably already see it. Let me know if you saw it before me, and don't lie. Why am I so bad at finding things? There you are. There is R2. Now what we do is we fold these legs in like that. I hope you can see that I bent the legs. And then we just put them through like that. And they sort of snaps into place. Trying to pull them through a little bit. And then they stick out on the back. I hope you can see them. And all we have to do now is we take some solder. We take our soldering iron and we just put a dab down. And now we can move on to the next resistor. So, sometimes, and this will happen everyone, you put something in the wrong place. And you have to get that part out. And it can become really messy, trying to poke around and pull at it at the same time as you're reheating it, and it can be a mess. It can be really, really, really annoying. And you can definitely do it that way. I've done it that way countless times because I usually mess up something. But you can also get yourself one of these, which is what I recommend. And what they are is they are a soldering iron and a solder sucker at the same time. So you push this part in, and it has a little hole in the top. And all you have to do is basically, first you have to just push the bottom in so that you can release it quickly and get the solder sucked, basically. And all you have to do is just put it over the leg, put it down into the place, make sure, wiggle it around a bit and find the solder and reheat the part so you can get that solder away. And once it's melted, you just push the button and it sucks the solder up. And you might have to do it a couple of times. And then both legs, obviously, so it releases. And then you can pop the part out, just like that. And resolder it to its correct place. So now all of them are in place, and we can move on to the next parts. Usually, people will say that it's best to start with the smallest components, and I would say that I agree with that. Obviously, you should experiment and find out what works best for you, and not listen to some random dude on YouTube. But that's my opinion as well. I think you should start with smaller component and build up, because it's going to get harder and harder to get into these tiny spots with your fingers. And as you can see, in comparison, my fingertip to one of these components, it's, we're talking about tiny parts here. Now, as I have already mentioned, you can sort of see by looking what fits where. And on some places, you see just a line drawn, like right here and right there. And what that means is that you want just a cable connection there. Now, it's, kind of wasteful, and also it's a bit too fiddly to put a cable there. So what I do, and what I recommend you do, is you take one of these legs that you've cut off from building your components, basically the legs you cut off from the resistors, and you basically just you bend them into a little U like that, and then you can just fiddle, you can put them into place. You can just put them into place like that. I hope you can see that now. Right there. It's just a connection. And you can obviously choose to do that as your first step or your second step, but I recommend it's one of the first ones you do. And then obviously we're just gonna move this over to the other side, bend the legs out a bit, something like that. I hope you can see them. And then we just take and put some solder down. And then we can cut off the excess. Like that. And on this one, we only have 2 more to go. The next step is to put in the semiconductors. And it's these little guys. I hope you can see them. They have one stripe of color on one side, and the way they only let electricity flow one way, and so what you have to understand is the way you put them in is also important. So if we look here, we can see that these boxes that are very much shaped like them and also have a line are the ones that these are supposed to go into. And the lines on the part has to be on the side where the line is shown on the circuit. Now, usually, and it's very convenient that they do this on this kit, they don't do it on all kits, so you'll have to look in the manual and then read on the part which part is going where. But usually when they have two different sizes, like right here, they'll make a small box like they've done here, and you can see that that part is going to go there, and they've made a larger box for these parts. And then all you have to do is bend the legs like we've already talked about and put the part in its place, making sure that the line that is on the circuit board and the line that is on the part are on the same side, so that when you power up the pedal, electricity is allowed to flow through the right way. I hope you can see right here, and it's very hard to show, but that the part has, it's black, has a silver line right here, and the box has a white line right there. So both lines are on this side right here, and there is no line on this side. And now you just have to solder all the parts in place, and it can be really fiddly when you have parts like these that looks exactly the same, but one of them has different writing than the other one, and you just have to look at that writing and look in the papers that you have to print out, and it will tell you which one goes where. So the next part is that we're going to put these in, and they are called electrolytic capacitors. And the way you know how to put them in is that you have one leg with a stripe going down, as you can see right here now. So they are usually black with a white stripe or white grayish stripe, or maybe they can be blue with a white stripe going down it like this, or in some other cases, like in this box here, you can see that they are on the side here, and they are in this case green with gold. It's hard to see, but right there it is. But never mind that. In this case, the ones we get are black with the grey or white, whatever you want to call it, stripe down. And if you look at the circuit board, you can see these circles, and obviously since these are circles, that's where they're supposed to sit. And it has one leg, one hole for one leg with a plus side, and one leg that isn't. That means that plus is the lead signal, and the one without one is the minus side, which is also the ground. And if we look at this, we can see that the gray part, that's the ground one, which basically means the one that doesn't have a colored stripe is the one that is going to go into the plus. And then we just have to take our nifty little paper with the instruction for how we put this together, and we just have to take these and look at the values that are written on them and see where they're supposed to go. So this one is supposed, for example, to go into C9. So we just have to find C9 and put it in. And there we have C9. I hope you can see it. Wait. There is C9. And plus is the one that doesn't have a colored stripe. And it goes in like that. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. And then, once it is in place, we make sure that it fits. We can flip it over. We can take some solder. And we can just solder it in place. And once we're done with that, it'll look something like this. And we can just cut the legs off. So, I ran into a small problem that I'm going to share with you guys now, and I'm going to share my solution. So, the kit wanted me to use 6 of these, but they had forgot to put 6 ones in, so I need to find one in my spare drawer, and I don't have the exact value. Now, if you look really closely, you can see a value that is a number. In this case it's a 1, then it's something that looks like a U and an F, and then afterwards there is a number like 50 followed by a V. That's the voltage value, and that's not really the value we're interested in. It's that first one that we're interested in. And so this one has a 50 volt, but these have a value of 63, and that means that this is not really correct. But since this is a 9 volt pedal, I'm gonna plug this in and we'll just have to see what happens. There shouldn't be any problems, but if there are any problems, we're just gonna have to go to the store and buy a new one of these, because I don't think there is a point in contacting them and asking them to send just one of these, because it's basically gonna take them 2 weeks to arrive, and I kinda wanna get this done, so we're gonna use this. But that's just if any of you have the same problem, you know that, oh, well, you can do it like this. I mean, if you have any spare parts. If you don't, then you're sort of gonna have to, contact the seller anyway. So we're getting close to being done, and I've decided that since things are getting a little bit, clogged up, or whatever you want to say, and it's getting kind of hard to get in there and move things about, I am going to put these in next, which is the mounts or houses or whatever you want to call them for the op amps. They probably have a real name, and I don't know, have a brain freeze right now. If you know them, please correct me. No, but seriously, they are all the same size, which means that they have 4 legs on each side. You can see right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it doesn't really matter in which of these 3 locations we put them, because they don't have any electrical components in of themselves. They're just socket holders, basically. The only thing we have to think about is that if we look at them more closely, and I hope you can see this, there is a little indentation up right here. And if we look at the circuit here, we can see that there is a little indentation there. So basically all we have to do is make sure that this one goes in with the right side in the right place, so that those 2 matches up. That's the only thing we have to think about when it comes to these. And then obviously what we have to do is solder them in place. So just drop them. See if we can get it in there. Come on. See? Starting to get a little bit fiddly. And just be sure to look it over. Like right now, I was talking while fiddling around and I almost put this one in the wrong way. Just make sure you do it the right way. And look it over. See those indentations on the side. Make sure they line up. And then you can turn it over. And you can put just a tiny bit of solder on each of the legs that are sticking through to make sure that you get a good connection. Something like that, basically. So now they're in place. I hope you can see. And on the other side. And that's for later when we go to plug them in. So the next part now is to start putting all these other little parts in. That you have all these different way of looking. And what you have to do is you have to look at them, and on them you can see a number. And then you have to look in the schematics and see where they're supposed to be. So I can see, for example, this one. It has a 390 and its place is C8. So let's see if we can find C8. Over here is C8. So I'm just gonna pop it into place and bend the legs a little bit. Flip it over and solder it in place. So we're done with this now, and so let's move on to the next step, which is gonna be tinning all of these components so that they are ready to be used. Now, if you don't know what tinning is, it's pretty simple. It's just taking some solder and putting it down on the components before we go to put them together. So we'll start off with this, and we'll just put some tin down on every piece, like so. And it's a little bit fiddly. I recommend you're using some arms, the helper arms that you can get to hold the pieces for you, but I'm just too lazy to fetch mine. So there's one part. Let's do another. And all this is really for is to make sure that it gets a little bit easier to connect things together later on when we go to put wires between all the parts. Something like that. Hope you can see that. It's very easy. It's not something that I really need to show you guys. As long as you know what it is I'm saying and what I mean when I say tinning, I think you guys are going to be able to do this probably even better than I can, because I'm not really good at this. And so you just flood some in. You don't need to put a lot in. It's not no context. You just have to put some. And it's going to be interesting to figure out why some of these pots have legs with holes and some have pins. So once we've tinned all the parts, we're going to move on to the next step, which is the wires that go from all the different components. And the first thing we have to do is we have to separate the wires from each other. It's super easy, you just pull them apart. It's a little bit fiddly because you have to try to get your nail in between and then pry them apart, and then you can just pull. And we're just going to do this to all of these because we are probably not gonna use all of these probably, but since I haven't made the box yet, I don't know how long they are gonna be, so we're just gonna take a whole length of wire for every part. And then once we have the box, we can trim everything into size to fit perfectly. This is not the way I would recommend that you do it. If you have a box, I would suggest that you drill all the holes in your box and you mount all the parts in it, and then you cut the wires and put them into place, measuring everything and making sure they are the right length. But since I don't have the box yet, because I haven't made the follow-up to this video before I made this video, we're gonna do things a little bit, maybe, let's say, the long way round or something. I don't know. Super tramp. So once I've pulled these final ones apart, and you can see it doesn't take that long because I can do it while talking to you guys, so it doesn't take that long to do this. But once I've done this, we're gonna move on to the next step. Okay, so the next step is we take our wire like that, and we're gonna do two things to it. And the first thing is we're gonna strip the wire, and the second thing is we're gonna tin it. Now you already know what tinning is, but stripping means that we cut away the outer protective plastic. If you look really closely, which you're not probably going to be able to do on the video, but there's a tiny bit of copper wire inside the plastic. And so what you do is you use your wire cutters and you peel back, and you just have to peel back a tiny bit of the plastic, and you can see now we've exposed some copper. Now there are a couple of different cutters. You just have to find the ones that works best for you. I'm using these kinds. It's a very old kind of wire cutter, and it's basically has a mouth that lets you adjust how deep it cuts so that it cuts through the plastic but not through the copper. And then we just take our wires, and we have to do this to all the wires, and we just tin the wires and make sure it flows into the wires and in between them. So now the next step is that there are a bunch of little holes on the sides that I hope you can see. It's a little square with a hole in it, and basically where it's on some of them it says GND, and that stands for ground. And then you take one of your black wires that you're going to use for ground, and you just fiddle it in there. Let's see if I can show you guys. And once it is in place like that, I hope you can see it, you just take some solder and you solder it into place. Like that. So now, where it says ground, there is a ground wire sticking up. And so, I'm going to do that to all the places where it says ground. So, if we look closely here, it tells us that there's supposed to be, from those three terminals, going 3 wires to the pot that has 6 pins. So if we hold it in the same position, you can see 3 from there to there, 3 from there to there. And so all we have to do now is basically we put 3, and I'm going to take 3 green wires because that's the same on the picture. You don't have to do it like that, but I'm going to do it to make it easy for you guys to follow along. I'm going to take 3 wires that are green and put them in there. And then I'm going to put 3 blue wires in there. And then I'm going to solder them all into place, just like in the picture. 3 there, and 3 there, 3 there, and 3 there. So that everything looks the same on both ends. Okay, so according to the papers, these 3 are supposed to be connected to the underside, and the ones down here, and the blue ones are going to be up here. And it's basically just attaching one, just attach them in a row. And because I've tinned everything, I don't need to worry about them not melting together. So that's why you tin things. And hopefully you can see how easily I connect these. And then the blue ones. And I know my hands are in the way, but it's just, I don't know, very hard to do this without having my hands in the way. Something like that. So now all the wires are connected to this pot right here. And now we're just going to continue and connect the next pot. Okay, so the last pot is connected a little bit differently than the other 2. So first we have to do is we have to connect the one cable, yes, that goes from the circuit to the pot. It's very simple to do. Just attach it to the first leg here. Just melt the solder together. Then there is a cable that is later going to be attached to the switch, to the middle leg. And lastly, but not the shortest, because, no, never mind. I don't know, I was going to make some stupid joke. Anyway, a ground wire is the last one. And that's it, basically. Okay, so now we're gonna try and see if we can do the wiring for the switch. And first off, we're gonna start off by putting some tiny wires to connect different parts of the switch. So first off, a tiny little wire here that goes to here, and then a tiny little wire here that goes to here, and then a ground wire in the middle, and next up is the resistor for the LED. And then we need a wire for the switch that goes here. And another one for the switch right here. So that are the basic wires that are going to be attached to the switch. The 2 outer last lugs, the middle last one to the first upper one, the middle one, is a ground, then the middle upper is the resistor, then the middle outer ones are to the output and input jack. And now we're gonna attach some cables from this whole thing. There is a cable called in, and it's going to be attached together with these little jumper cables. We're gonna see if we can maybe get that done without. The next one is the middle cable from the level switch, I mean the level pot, that gets attached right here. And that's that. So the next part is to put this, attach this. Now, if you look at one of these, which is what you plug in, you know, the male jack into the female jack, and yeah, I know it's a perverted name, but that's what they're called. Anyway, this is the lead and this is the ground. And so when you think about it, when it goes in, it's kind of obvious that these two are the ground and that is the lead because of how they go in. And you can even see on these how they push the parts. So we're just going to take the blue wire and attach it and then the ground wire from the PCB. And that's it. Okay, so we have some small parts left to connect, like this ground wire here. If you look closely at this output jack for the electronics, there is a bigger connector and two smaller, and we're going to connect the ground wire to the bigger one. So we're just going to take and hold it in place and heat everything up, and we're going to put some solder down, something like that, and then it's connected. And then we have this red wire, and that needs to also be connected. And we're just going to do the same thing. We're just going to hold this to where it needs to be connected, which is one of those tinier ones. We're actually going to connect it to the last one. If you feel like I'm not showing you things too much, then the instructions are very simple to follow. You can see here, and so I get it if you might be worried or something, but you don't have to be worried, I promise you. Like, you will be able to build this pedal. And then we need this other wire here, something like that. Yeah, and just leave those to cool down a bit. And now we have this LED, and you probably know this already, but one leg is longer because it's lead and one is shorter because it's ground. And all we have to do is connect positive to connect positive to the wire and the ground to the ground resistor on the switch. We have 3 ground wires that are supposed to be connected to the metal case, but we don't have a metal case, so we're gonna have to connect them to something else. And I don't know what. Okay, so I thought about it for a second, and I decided that we're gonna try it with all connected to the power jack. It doesn't look super neat, and I think it's gonna introduce some more background noise to circuit once we plug it in and play it, but we're gonna solve that issue later when we go to actually make an enclosure for this pedal. So in this video, when we demo this, if there is just too much background noise and hiss and stuff like that, don't be discouraged. Write a comment and tell me that there is a lot of background noise, but you know, I'll probably already understand that there is. So yeah, let's move on to the last part before testing this kit out, and that is to put the little op amps in their place. And I think they are all the same. I'm gonna take a look in the papers and see if there is any difference. Actually, there is a difference. There are two that are the same. One of those will go in, and you can actually see the difference when you look really closely. I don't think you'll be able to tell the difference in this video, but the writing is a little bit different. So we're gonna take the two that are the same, and we're gonna put the first one in U1, and it is this one. It's this one, and we're just gonna plug it in there like so. Make sure you put it in the right direction, as I've already said. And then the next one that is exactly the same, it's the same name and everything, will go in U2, the band, as you all know. Yes, it's going inside of the band U2. Yep. I'm sorry, I am really terrible at making up jokes, especially while I'm building things. I probably could come up with something. No, I'm joking. I'm lying. I can't come up with anything. Anyway, then we're gonna go to U3, which is, you know, the better version of U2, and plug this one. Now, obviously, all I'm doing is following the instructions that I printed out from their page. You can see them here. And so you don't really need maybe this video to finish this kit. So yeah, I'm just gonna take and you know, yeah, that's it. The pedal is done. Let's zoom out a bit. No, zoom out. There it is. Something like that. And we're gonna go and plug it in and, you know, listen to it and see what it sounds like. And you know, hopefully everything is in its right place. If there is anything that is wrong, it's probably this weird thing that I did right here, but if that's the case, I'm gonna have to take a look at it. Okay, so after troubleshooting the pedal and things not working out, I had to do some changes to how I put the cables. And I don't think that any of these things will be a problem if you put everything into a metal enclosure. But since I don't have an enclosure right now, I had to do these things. I put small jumble cables across the controls on the contacts on the jacks. It's kind of hard because I used the ground wires to continue, but there it is. And I also moved one of the grounds away from the power jack to one of the input jacks. But other than that, everything works really great. So let's plug it in and see what it sounds like. Well, so I mean that's the pedal basically. I haven't fiddled around with it enough. It's kind of hard when there are no enclosure to hold the pedal basically. But I think it sounds kind of cool. I don't know if it sounds like as good as some of the pedals you can buy that are clones of the klone, but I mean, it felt like a really solid build. I didn't feel like any parts except for the one that was missing, which is, a bummer, but I didn't try contacting them, to be fair. So maybe they would have, they probably would have sent a new part. But otherwise, it seemed like a really nice kit, from what I can tell. I don't know what my thoughts of the klone really is. I feel like it's for the people who have found the clean tone that they really like and that they are like happy with, and they are just like, well, now I have to redo everything because I want to find my dirty channel, and that this can basically solve it because it is very transparent, at least I think, especially when you play around with it more. I don't know if it comes across as well in the video, but sitting here doing it with the amp next to me, it feels like it's very transparent. So I get that thing. And at first that was kind of weird, I must say, because it's so not used to that. I have a couple of other pedals that are supposed to be distortion or overdrive pedals, but they boost the signals. You get more mids and things like that, and I think it's going to take some getting used to. But I'm going to continue playing it, and of course we have to make an enclosure for it, so that's coming up. But let me know what you think. I mean, like, if you have this kit, or if you have more experience with the whole klone pedal thing, if you know what. I don't know if I would buy a klone pedal to use as a boost pedal. I mean, I know that's what a lot of people do, but I mean, they're very expensive, so and they have a gain knob, so I mean, I feel like they're overdrive or distortion pedals even. But I don't have any experience really, so But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, let me know. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have any suggestions for klone pedals that I should check out, write a comment below about your favorite one. I would appreciate that. That's cool. I really feel like I should try to get more into this whole circuit now, because this is a strange pedal, and having played it for a bit now, and I'm going to continue playing it after this video because I kind of want to wrap my head around it. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble, so we're going to call it for now. See you in the next video, and thank you so much for watching and all that good. Stay awesome and cool, and go play your guitar.